All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today you should be in your record and practice journal on page 157. We're going to do it a little bit differently and try our activities on camera today because we didn't get to them yesterday, and that's okay. You should also have a grid paper. This is called geoboard paper. I'm giving you this today because Mrs. Wensley doesn't have enough geoboards for everybody. And this will be easier for me to check so you can hand it in. So, we're looking at activity A, or activity 1A. But just above that, it says, how can you classify quadrilaterals? That's the answer, that's the question we're going to answer today. It also says that quad means four and lateral means side. So a quadrilateral means a polygon with four sides. That is exactly what it is. There are some examples there of different quadrilaterals. So what we're going to work on is forming different quadrilaterals in activity 1. So if we look at 1A, form a quadrilateral with exactly one pair of parallel sides. One pair of parallel sides, so I'm going to do the top and the bottom. Top and the bottom are parallel. So now these two side ones are not going to be parallel. Please use your straight edge. Okay, so now next to the boxes, I'm going to label which one I did. This box is question A. So I have two parallel sides. I drew that first, and then I connected them. So I have one slanted line, and I have one straight up and down line. So these two will eventually touch. They are not parallel. They do not go on and on forever like these two do. These two will go on and on forever and never ever touch. Now we're looking at B. B says form a quadrilateral with four congruent sides and four right angles. Four congruent sides is four sides with the same length, and four right angles means that all of our corners are going to be 90 degrees. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units across, and then I'm going to complete the quadrilateral. It's a square. C. Please pause this if you need more time to draw it. As we go through, just pause, finish drawing it, and then move on. So C. Form a quadrilateral with four right angles that is not a square. So not a square, which means all the sides are not the same length. So I'm going to do 6 units across the top, 3 units down, and I'm going to complete it. I have my four right angles in the corners, and it is not a square, and it has four sides. D. Form a quadrilateral with four congruent sides that is not a square. This one might be a little bit trickier for you. But we have four sides that are going to all be the same length, but it is not going to be a square. So I'm going to choose a point towards the middle, and I'm going to try to create one. So we see here that I went 4 and 4 on a slant. Do the same thing here. Please use your straight edge. It might be easier if you just used 3. It should look like this if you use your straight edge. This is what it should look like. Okay. E. We're going to form a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of congruent adjacent sides and whose opposite sides are not congruent. So they are congruent adjacent sides. We went over what this means. Congruent, same length. Adjacent. Adjacent means they share a side. And the opposite sides are not congruent. So the sides across that do not touch are not the same length. I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to go 3 down. And then I'm also going to go 3 the other way. And then I'm going to connect it to my very last dot. So when you're done, it should look like this. F, the last one, says form a quadrilateral with congruent and parallel opposite sides that is not a rectangle. So I'm going to do 4 across the top. Which means I'm going to go on a slant for 4. And then I'm going to connect the bottom 4. We have our quadrilateral that has congruent and parallel opposite sides, but it is not a rectangle. Okay, now we're going to move on. Flip the page to page 158. Up at the top, what it wants you to do is now name these different quadrilaterals with rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram, trapezoid, square, and kite. So our first one right here, I want you to think about what it is. Please pause the video and write it down. Okay, this first one with one set of parallel sides, this is our trapezoid. Just write it right along the side. Now I'd like you to pause the video and go over the rest of them. Fill the rest of them in. You are going to have to hand in this paper, so please do this part as well. Alright, welcome back. Let's finish going over what you have here. So this one right here, this is a square. 4 right angles, 4. All sides are the same length. Opposite sides are parallel. C, we have a rectangle. D, this is a rhombus. E, we have a kite. And F, we have a parallelogram. Alright, once you finish that, I would like you to move on to activity 3. Once again, if I'm moving too fast, please just pause the video and work on those shapes. Now we're going to look at activity 3. Activity 3 says we can form each quadrilateral on our geoboard. So we're going to use our geo paper. Here they give you some. We're going to move only one vertex. Remember, vertex is where the two lines meet to create the new type of quadrilateral. We're going to write the results right here. So if you need some extra workspace, if you flip over this other paper, there's more over here. Alright, so we're going to look at our trapezoid here. We're going to try to move one vertex. This is a vertex. We have 4 vertices here. We're going to move one of them to create a kite. Well, if I look here, I can't move any further in this direction. And if I move this here, it's not really a kite because these two are not going to be the same length. So I'm going to look at moving this one because this is the most room that I can use to maneuver. Now with the kite, I need 2 sides that are congruent right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this vertex up here. So my new shape is going to be the same length here, the same length here, but then it's going to meet up here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 units down. 1, 2, 3 units over. Then using your straight edge, connect them to create your kite. Now we're going to take that kite. We have an example of it down here. It's a little bit smaller. We're going to take this kite, we're going to move one vertex, and we're going to create a rhombus. We do not want to create a square. If we moved this one in, we'd create a square. That is not our goal. We want to create a rhombus. Rhombus was example D in activity 1. If you need a refresher. So I'm going to move this vertex down 1. So I'm still going to have these lines be the same, then these ones will extend. So I'm going to put a vertex here, I'm going to put a vertex here, I'm going to have one here, and I'm going to still have one up here. We're just going to connect them. Once again, please use your straight edge. Now going back to your geoboards, your geoboard paper, we're going to move on to activity 4. Activity 4 asks you to use geometry software. I don't want you to use geometry software, I just want you to draw them on your geoboard, your geopaper. A square with a side length of 3 units. I'm going to show you the first one and then I would like you to complete the other 3. So this is A on activity 4. We're going to create a square with a side length of 3 units. We're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and down 1, 2, 3. Because it's a square, all my sides are the same length. They all meet at 90-degree angles. Your next one is a rectangle with a width of 2 units and a length of 5 units. Between these two, from one dot to the next, this is 1 unit. This is 1 unit right here. So please try those. When you're done, I would like you to move on to the chart in number 5 of what is your answer. Underneath what is your answer. So we'll move on to this part right here. You're going to measure, so pause the video and go back and finish the B, C, and D from activity 4. Now right here, we're going to measure the angles of each quadrilateral that we formed in activity 1. This is why you needed to use a straight edge, because we were creating angles. We're going to record the results in the table and include the sum of the angle measures. Then describe the pattern in the table and write a conclusion.